It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. Today's Ag Spotlight episode is sponsored by Energrow. Energrow's oilseed pressing system helps farmers crush their feed costs. The easy way to make fresh, homegrown, high-quality meal, plus expeller pressed oil right on the farm. The fully automated turnkey Crush Pro is easy to set up and run 24/7. To learn more, go to energrow.ca. Hi, I'm Chrissy Wozniak, and welcome to North American Ag Spotlight. Our guest today is an Ohio State graduate. He's been practicing dairy nutrition for more than 20 years, and he's the New York Territory Manager for Alltech. I'd like to welcome you, John Winchell.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here, Chrissy. Thank you.
Yeah. And we just discovered that we're actually neighbors. We probably only live 20 miles away from each other, but there's the big mean border, international border in between us that we are not allowed to cross right now. But yeah, it's nice to meet a neighbor too. We know all the same places, and that's pretty cool.
Yep, I can actually see Fort Erie pretty much from my house, so it's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. Such a small world. I had no idea.
Yep.
So you're clearly passionate about dairy, and your work focuses on forage quality. So how did you start out on this path? Did you actually grow up in dairy?
Yes, I did. I was born and raised on a dairy farm in northeastern Ohio. We had Holstein and Brown Swiss. I loved it. It was a great way to grow up. Was involved in 4-H quite a bit. Did a lot of that stuff. Was fortunate enough to do some stuff with 4-H that enabled me to win some scholarships. And I knew that from a small age that I was going to be in ag my whole life. It's one of those things I can't get it out of me. And no matter if I try, I just love it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I love meeting people with that deep passion for the industry. So tell me about how you entered your role at Alltech.
Well, I've been lucky enough. I've had a great opportunity to utilize a lot of things that I've done through my career. And Alltech approached me about 4 years ago when I was working locally. And I looked at it as an opportunity, and I'm very careful about what I do in my career. And I want to always go forward. I think when I was managing people before, if somebody had a good opportunity, as long as they were moving forward or enhancing themselves, I've always told them, if that's the case, do it. And I looked at Alltech as an opportunity to do that, to travel around a little more and work with more producers. And now that I've done it and been engulfed in it, they give me the opportunity to create my own vision of what I want my territory and what I want to do. And it's just opened up a whole new life.
That's really cool. Yeah, you can live your dream every day.
It is amazing. Yeah, it's one of those situations where at this time in my life, everything that I've done for a career, each job, I'm utilizing those things right now. And how many people could say that?
Right.
It's amazing.
That is amazing. And you've recently done a YouTube series of fireside chats. So yep. I know they focus on a lot of areas of the dairy industry. So how did you come up with the idea to do those?
Well, probably the pandemic. I would say it was the big thing, Zoom life or Teams life or whatever you want to call it. I've always wanted to do something like that. And with different situations in the pandemic and a lot of people being on lockdown, I thought it was a good opportunity to invite in people that I thought were interesting and insightful, and also give back some information that I've learned that are maybe fringe things that a lot of people don't talk about. Yeah. So my things are kind of fringy. I mean, I even have one called Back End Biology, which talks about how you looking through the manure to see how their diets, how everything that they eat impact their diet. So it's just a completely unique thing.
Right. Wow. And how do you think that COVID-19, what that impact is on the dairy industry, like from your perspective?
Well, it's interesting. I'm obviously, what I do is an essential part because I work with farms and feed mills and consultants on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. But I really, you look at it from how COVID has impacted fluid milk consumption. Obviously, restaurants were closed for a while and are closed somewhat again. Right. So fluid sales have been impacted. Now butter's gone crazy. So it's become a butter world again, which I guess I'm happy about. Mm-hmm. And then cheese is relatively strong, but definitely fluid sales and quotas have really impacted dairy. And let's face it, you can have a car or anything else, and it's easy to turn it off. You can just turn the switch and you turn it off. Mm-hmm. When the production, in Canada, you guys obviously utilize the quota. And here with the production limits we had to put on, you can't just turn a cow off. Right. I mean, she has that innate will to milk, and she's going to milk whether you want her to or not. Mm-hmm. And so it's tough because we have to kind of reduce production and kind of turn off the cow or slow the cow down. And then recently the production limits had lifted here in the States. So now we expect that cow to get turned back on again. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to turn a cow off than to turn her back on. Yeah. but because it's just hard to do. It's like trying to slow down a freight train. Mm-hmm. But looking at it from that standpoint, I think things are pretty good. I mean, the first time around with COVID, farms were, I thought, pretty insulated, mm-hmm. because let's face it, most of our farms are rural and we don't really leave much. We're very busy. It's a 7-day-a-week job. And so we were pretty insulated, and the people we deal with were pretty insulated. Mm-hmm. This time around, I'm starting to hear of more farms and more ag suppliers that are getting COVID. And what I've been able to figure out from this, it seems like a lot of it's been college kids coming back home. And then, it's just, that makes sense. Yeah. So that's really been the biggest thing. But, I just hope that, a vaccine or something comes along that's mm-hmm. going to make us get back to somewhat of a semblance of life. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping to get back to something kind of normal again soon too. So you have something that you're planning to launch soon in the new year, and that's a new podcast. So tell me a little bit about that. Yes, I'm planning on doing something called the Forage Five. Mm-hmm. And what the Forage Five is, I'm trying to break down some topics into 5-minute bites, because let's face it, for the most part, everybody is zoomed out. Yes. There's just been so many webinars and so many meetings. And primarily I'm doing meetings that are, 45 to an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And most people aren't going to want to do that. Mm-hmm. Come in for lunch. Maybe they'll watch one if they're really interested in it. But for the most part, your attention span is probably at least that 2 to 5 minutes. Yeah. So that's what I'm planning on focusing on, breaking things down and making things real visual. So mm-hmm. It's not your traditional podcast. There's going to be video and little interviews. It's going to be something that's, going to be visual, and hopefully people are interested in it, and it hits an interest level. Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. And so when are you planning to launch? So I'm planning to launch right around the beginning of the year. I'm finishing up a few right now, and then, we're looking at putting some out between my wife and I, putting some out for, at least every plan is every week or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And then who's your target listener? Who do you want, who's the audience that you're planning for?
Primarily dairy farmers, I would assume. Dairy farmers, consultants, nutritionists. It's kind of interesting what I'm doing in my career right now is you've got the nutritionist side of the business, you've got the agronomy side, and you got me sitting in the middle. So when I go to farms, I'm kind of in between those. So I'm hoping to bring in some agronomy people, some weather people, just something trying to bring everybody together to a topic that, not many people are talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And then who's the ideal interviewee? Who are you going to be talking to?
Well, the ideal interviewee is going to be passionate people. Mm-hmm. For sure. You've got to be passionate about what you're doing. And what I look for and what I've looked for through the years and people that I've brought onto farms with me is someone that can break down the information. Mm-hmm. It can take something super technical and then bring it down to everybody's level. And that is what my ideal person is somebody that can passionately talk about something very, very simple that's not simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. Because if you lose everyone, it doesn't matter how good the information is, right? Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. So then you said in one of our first communications that you're always looking for ways to give back to the industry. What do you want your legacy in agriculture to be?
That's interesting. I thought about that a little bit. So I just turned 50. So when we all turn 50, it's one of those things where we start to look at our lives.
Right.
Before you're 50, when I'm in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I was living life. Now I'm looking at with small children and hitting 50 and thinking about it. I'm thinking of what I would like to give back. And I had cancer 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I'm fine, but thankfully I'm fine. But after that, it's completely changed my work ethic, and I want to be the best at what I do. Mm-hmm. And I want to help and give back as much as I can to the dairies that I've worked with through the years and ones that I haven't worked with. So to me, that's what I want my legacy to be. I want people to think that I've kind of helped in whatever way it is. I just want to give back. And then I want to teach my children this work ethic. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'm laser focused for doing what I love. So,
oh, that's awesome. I love that. And I'm sure that a cancer scare that would really get you thinking, right?
Yeah, I came out of absolutely positively nowhere, and I'm fortunate I had something else happen and that was minor. And then when they did some MRIs, they said, "Ooh, there's something going on here." And
wow.
If I wouldn't have known that, I would not be here today.
Wow, that's lucky.
Crazy.
Lucky and unlucky, I'm sure.
Yeah, very, very fortunate.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out to talk to me today. It was great learning more about you, and we'll definitely be putting your podcast on our Best of Ag section on North American Ag. And so you get me that information as we go, and we'll do a launch on our side too.
I definitely appreciate it. And thank you for what you guys do. It's really important how you focus everything and advertise everything that people are doing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good talking to you.
Yep, you too. See you.
Bye. The way we conduct business in agriculture has endured a drastic change. Our handshake industry has traditionally been face-to-face, but with the cancellation of in-person events and farm shows, everyone has had to adapt, from farms to manufacturers to service providers. With a dizzying array of marketing and digital business choices, you need to make the right decisions, or risk not being seen at all. If you need advice or a customized plan for your business, don't hesitate to reach out to me at chrissywozniak.com or chrissy.info, because that's easier to spell. Don't risk not pivoting your business. Find the path that will take you into the digital space and be seen by our industry.